I'm late. I'm 3 weeks late. I know. But good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whenever you're watching, however you're watching this. I hope you're having a fabulous day. Y'all, I disappeared for a month. I do apologize for that. That won't happen again. I'll be here at least once a week. We have a lot of stuff to do. We got to recap free agency, recap the NBA season. We got to prepare ourselves, give previews for the NFL season and then the upcoming NBA season with a sprinkle of college football in there. So y'all stay on the lookout for these videos. I can't wait. I'm glad I'm back. I love talking about sports. It's so fun. You can talk about it with almost anybody and everybody. You can talk about it anywhere, and it's just so much fun. So anyway, we're here to start off with the first trade, which is the Phoenix Suns land Bradley Beal in a swap with the Washington Wizards. Phoenix Suns received the three-time All-Star from Washington as a part of a three-team deal that also includes the Indiana Pacers. The Washington Wizards have dealt All-Star guard Bradley Beal to the Phoenix Suns in a move that shakes up the Western Conference. Not really, in my opinion. The Wizards, Suns, and Indiana Pacers all officially announced the move on June 24th in a deal. And so in the deal, the Suns get Bradley Beal, Josh Goodwin, Isaiah Todd. The Wizards get Chris Paul, Larry Shamet. They get the number 7 pick via the Pacers, 2024 first-round pick swap, bear with me, y'all, 2024 second-round pick, 2025 second-round pick, 2026 first-round pick swap, 2026 second-round pick, 2027 second-round pick, a 2028 and 2030 first-round pick swap, a 2028 and 2030 second-round pick, and the Pacers get the number 8 pick via the Wizards, future second-round pick via the Wizards, and future second-round pick via the Phoenix Suns. That is a lot of stuff. So basically, Bradley Beal gets traded for Chris Paul and a bunch of swap picks. And my immediate thoughts when I saw that trade was, wow, Bradley Beal got out of Washington. I was not expecting this. I really wasn't. I never thought Bradley Beal would leave Washington personally. Me personally, I never thought this would happen. I never thought he would leave Washington. And I never thought Damian Lillard would leave the Portland Trailblazers. And who knows, maybe he's not going to leave. This man didn't want to leave like 2 weeks ago, 2 days ago. Now he wants to leave, and who knows, he might change his mind. But the fact that he requested a trade and is 9 times out of 10 getting traded is bizarre to me. And the fact that Bradley Beal is out of Washington, I can't believe it. I was so used to Bradley Beal in Washington and Dame in Portland. I thought it was going to be a forever thing. I just thought they would never go try to win a ring. And I think that we shouldn't bash these players for leaving because, let's be real, if we was in that situation, I would have left too. Like I said, though, that contract extension Bradley Beal did 2 years ago or last offseason really threw me off. Really threw me off. However, Bradley Beal has made it to Phoenix. Phoenix is looking scary on paper. They have DeAndre Ayton, they have Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant. What could go wrong? A lot could go wrong. First of all, like I said, on paper, this team looks great. Offensively, this team is a juggernaut. They're so much of a juggernaut that they don't even need Ayton. Ayton could just sit in the middle and do pick and rolls and get rebounds the whole game. He doesn't even need to score anymore. And they'll still be like KD, Booker, and Bill could average like 30 by themselves. So like offensively, they're good. They're good offensively. It's just that I have 3 huge problems with this team. And the first problem is depth. Now, I said that they do not need DeAndre Ayton. And the reason why I said that is because, in my personal opinion, I think they should trade him for some solid role players, some defensive guys, because number 1 and number 2 kind of go together. Because first things first is they don't have depth and they don't have defense. Bradley Beal just was another star to add to this team, and the only thing he fixed was their scoring problem, and they didn't even have a scoring problem. So the only thing he adds to this team is scoring, and you need depth in order to win a championship, and we learned that lately. Even when the Warriors had KD, Curry, Clay, and stuff, they still had some nice, solid role players to play along with them. But if you look at recent history, you look, for instance, the Brooklyn Nets. You look, they failed. They traded away all their for James Harden. And then you go and you look at the Lakers. The Lakers are a prime example. Whether or not you want to admit it's a real title or not, whether or not it's a Mickey Mouse title to you does not matter right now. Even though I think it's a Mickey Mouse title, but I do think it's legit. Like, I get why people think it's a Mickey Mouse title, and I get why people think it's legit. However, at the end of the day, the Lakers won that title not only because of LeBron and AD, but because they had a good core surrounding them. They had good depth. They had a pretty good roster. You go out and you look at them when the next year, they had injuries. So they got out and then they panicked. They had injuries, and if we're being completely honest, the turnaround for that season was real quick. I believe it ended in September, and then Christmas Day or Christmas Eve was the first games of the new regular season. So the turnaround was quick, and they was injured, and they panicked. And one thing they shouldn't have done was panic, because they traded away all their depth for a player that they saw at the three-point line and left wide open. They left wide open, and they said, you can shoot that, and you can have that. And he missed. And you know what? You want to know what went through Ryan Mallon? You know what went through Palinka? You know what went through their mind of the Lakers front office? Hey, we should trade for him. And guess what? They did. They traded for Westbrook, and it was a horrible disaster. And I'm going to play devil advocate here. It wasn't a disaster because of Westbrook, because Westbrook proved to us that he still got it somewhat with the Clippers. It's just that it wasn't a good situation for him. Him and LeBron really didn't mush, and it was as simple as that. And so then you look, they get rid of Westbrook, and they get some solid role players to come off the bench. They get some nice role players to start and to play around LeBron and AD. And they go from not making it to the play-in to barely making it to the play-in to getting to the playoffs to going to the Western Conference Finals. It's so simple. And they got to do that because of role players in depth. You look at the San Antonio Spurs, role players in depth. You look at the Jordan Bulls, role players in depth. Like, every single one of these people had a co-star. LeBron, AD, Jordan, Pippen. You look at Tim Duncan. You had Tim Duncan, Tony Parker. You look at them, they had solid role players. The 2019 Toronto Raptors had solid role players in depth. The 2021 Milwaukee Bucks had solid role players in depth. Heck, even the freaking Denver Nuggets have solid role players in depth. And that's what you need in order to win a championship. You need some solid defense, and Denver picked up their defense when they got into the playoffs. Pick up your defense. You need solid defense, and you need solid role players to go with your stars. And Phoenix does not have neither. So what they need to go out and do, they need to trade DeAndre Jordan, sign a center to the minimum exception, or however much they can afford to go get rebounds. Sign a center who can get you rebounds, and that's it. That's it. Pick and rolls. That's all you need from the center. That's it. That's all you need. And go trade Aiden for some two nice solid role players, and then you already got Eric Gordon, and then go sign some other players. One player I think they should sign, which I don't know, probably won't happen, is Rondo. He could be the point guard of this team, and since he's the point guard, he'll get like 35 million assists, and he could be the facilitator and stuff like that, and they'll be solid. But honestly, I don't know who's going to play the point. I don't know what this lineup is going to be, and I'm interested to see what Phoenix does moving forward. But they don't have defense, and they don't have depth. And my third and final issue with the Phoenix Suns, injury prone. I haven't watched Bradley Beal play in forever. Like, I can count on two hands, I think, how many games he done played in the last 2 years. He has been injury prone. And this was the same issue I had when they traded for Kevin Durant. Yes, you got KD, but what? At what cost? Him and Chris Paul are unpredictable injury-wise. They have been banged up over the last few years. And Chris Paul gets injured when it matters the most. And what happened this year when it mattered the most, even though it didn't matter anyway, they was going to lose regardless. Chris Paul got hurt. When it mattered the most. Now you got Bradley Beal, who's been injury prone. But maybe since he's not the only scorer on the team or the first or second option anymore, maybe he won't be so injury prone. But you still got KD, who is injury prone, and then you don't have depth on your roster. So it's nothing you can do about it. If one of them gets injured, you're screwed. They are at a point where they have to win a title or bust. Last year, I said they were at title or bust, but this year they most definitely are. Last year, they got a pass because they traded for KD in the middle of the season. They got a pass. But this year, you traded for Bradley Beal. off season, got a whole summer, whole training camp, a whole regular season to try to mush together and figure it out. What y'all need to do, number one, trade DeAndre Ayton so you can get some depth in defense, because in order to win a title, you need defense and you need depth. You don't have neither, so please go do that, Phoenix. And last but not least, Phoenix, what you need to do is focus and make sure they don't get injured, because KD and Bradley Beal are injury prone. And if any three of those players get hurt, you're screwed. You're completely screwed, because you don't have anyone to replace them, or you don't have anyone who could somewhat cover for them. You don't have that. You don't have that. It's as simple as that. You don't have that, so you cannot afford an injury. Those are the three things I think Phoenix should work on. Moving on from the Phoenix side of things, we're moving on to the Wizards side of things. And the Wizards side of things is real quick and simple. And I'm going to get to the point. The Wizards are rebuilding. It's just as simple as that. They just gave the bag to Kuzi with the Uzi. They gave the bag to Kyle Kuzma. So, hey, they're rebuilding. And that's as simple as that. They got rid of Porzingis, which I'll talk about later. And, yeah. And the reason why I brought up the Wizards is because that takes me into the next part of this video, the final part of this video, which will be the Chris Paul trade. Now, y'all, this trade, I know how I feel about the Wizards trade. The Wizards and the Suns trade. I know how I feel about that trade. But this trade right here, I honestly have no clue how I feel. I really don't. I have mixed emotions on here. And that trade is the Golden State Warriors. Yes, you heard me. The Golden State Warriors receive Chris Paul. Wizards receive Patrick Baldwin Jr., Ryan Rollins, my bad. A 2027 second round pick, and a 2030 first round pick that is protected. And last but not least, Jordan Poole. The Golden State Warriors traded Jordan Poole for Chris Paul. Me personally, it makes zero sense. This makes zero sense personally to me to do this. Like, this is the dumbest move they could have possibly did, in my opinion. And I believe Mike Dunleavy Jr. is the new GM of the Warriors. Yeah, Bob Myers ain't have nothing to do with this. But it makes sense because the Warriors were having internal problems. Let's be real. Draymond Green and Jordan Poole they definitely never recovered from that incident when Draymond Green gave him the pause. So you take that incident, and it negatively affected them this season. I believe that's what affected them negatively this season. And you take everything to account in the new CBA that's going in, all that money Poole and Wiggins made. They basically got rid of Jordan Poole, got rid of his contract. In exchange, they took Chris Paul. And when you look at it from that perspective, it's like, hey, okay, this makes sense. Why? Because Chris Paul is on, I believe, an expiring deal, or he has 2 years left. Either way, Chris Paul is on an expiring contract, and they can move Chris Paul. Jordan Poole, on the other hand, was going to get paid his contract didn't even start till, I believe, this year. And it was a lot of money that was owed, and they needed to bring Draymond Green back. And plus, him and Draymond were having all those problems. And you looked at the rumor mill, Draymond was out of there. I saw a lot of rumors that he was going to the Lakers, but Draymond was out of there, and that's what it seemed like. That's what it felt like. It felt like that era of Golden State was over. But they said, no, we're going to get rid of Poole, and we're going to bring in CP3, and we're going to bring back Draymond, and they did bring back Draymond. Now, the Wizards they drafted nicely in the NBA draft. They have Jordan Poole. Maybe he's the guard of the future for them. Maybe he's not. Who knows? They have all the time in the world because they need to rebuild now until they figure it out. They have a lot of picks. They need to just get it right and build around Kyle Kuzma, Jordan Poole. Now, you look at the Warriors side of this trade. This is pretty good in hindsight. If you look at it in hindsight, look at it. Just think about it, y'all. Hear me out, y'all. I get the concerns. Chris Paul is old. Chris Paul is not durable. Chris Paul has been getting injured in the playoffs forever now. Every single year, he gets hurt. And when it matters the most, he gets hurt. So what you're able to do now is even though he's getting paid so much money, which I personally, if I'm paying you all that money, I won't put you on the bench. However, he can head the second unit. And he could play the minutes in the middle of the games, and he doesn't always have to close out games. He doesn't. And that way you could keep him healthy, hopefully, and he won't have as much of a load on him. And Steph, if something happens to Curry or Clay or something, you have Chris Paul to step in while they're injured, and he could take over their spot until they come back. I hear a lot of people saying, well, they're probably not going to keep him. They're probably just going to trade him. They're probably going to cut him or waive him. No, they need him because they got rid of Jordan Poole. So they need him. They need him. I just don't know where they could go from here. I honestly really don't know. Like I said, they could do that, or they could do what makes no sense to me and start Chris Paul. But the good thing, though, about them starting Chris Paul is two things. It's a negative and a positive to them starting Chris Paul. The positive is we know Curry can play off the ball. So you have Paul at point guard, Curry at shooting guard, Clay at small forward, Andrew Wiggins at power forward, and Draymond at center. You could do that. And I could see that working because Clay and Curry, especially Curry, because Curry is really important here, he can play off the ball. So we know Curry can play off the ball, so that could work out. However, I don't think you should put Andrew Wiggins at power forward. I don't think that will work for real. I don't think that's a good idea. I think they should keep the starting five they have already because they have so much chemistry of Curry, Clay, Wiggins, Draymond, and Looney. I think they should keep that starting five. And like I said, just let Chris Paul lead the second unit. And then sometimes he can close out games. Sometimes he doesn't close out games. That way, hopefully, it will reduce his injury risk. And hopefully, he'll be available all 82 games in every single game of the playoffs. And then he won't get hurt when it matters the most. And then if something happens to Curry or Clay, you will have somebody there already in Chris Paul who could pick up where they left off, give you nice minutes, and he could do what he needs to do until they get back. And like I said, Chris Paul ain't a scrub. He's not the best anymore. He's not the worst. He's on the decline, but he can still give you some impactful, powerful minutes. He can be productive. And we're going to hopefully see that with him with the Warriors. I don't really like him with the Warriors all like that. It doesn't make the most sense to me because the Warriors already have Steph. But since they got rid of Jordan Poole, they need to keep him. They need to commit to Chris Paul, see how it goes. If it goes well, fine. If it doesn't, you can trade him at the trade deadline or cut him or do whatever you need to do with him. But all I know is for the Warriors side of things, this makes 100% sense because they need to get rid of Jordan Poole. And the consequences of getting rid of Jordan Poole, they had to take on Chris Paul's contract and they had to take on Chris Paul. It's just as simple as that. So the Phoenix Suns trade, they have a lot of work to do. I could possibly see them making a run at the chip, but without the depth, the defense, and the injury problems that I think they will have, I don't see them actually doing anything. However, Golden State, on the other hand, they could actually make a run. They could actually make a run as long as Chris Paul stays healthy, as long as he stays productive, and as long as he comes off the bench. That will be the best scenario for them. And the Wizards, all they need to do is just rebuild. They have all the time in the world to rebuild. See if Jordan Poole is the guard of the future. Build around him. Build around Kuzma and go on with their day. Anyway, after this, I'll probably make a video about the Boston Celtics and their trade. They received Kristaps Porzingis, and sadly, because I'm a Celtics fan, we got rid of the heart and soul of the team. We got rid of Marcus Smart, but I think Memphis trading for Marcus Smart is a really good thing. We'll get into that into the next video. Anyway, be safe, y'all. Steven Conner out. Peace.